Welcome to your D132 Typography 1 to our ex4 font combo practice in Figma. This originally was in Gravit, but we're doing in Figma now, which is why I'm a little behind. This should have been in Unit 4, but we're going to do it in Unit 5, and we'll try to crank through some of these hands-on exercises quickly. And what you're going to do in this one is either click on this link here or go into here and click on the link, whatever you prefer. Now, I have this message saying video still being recorded because I'm recording the video right now. But I'm going to click on this link. I'll try it from here. And it's going to open up in a new tab. And like we've practiced in the past, this is a file that I'm sharing with you. So instead of view only, what you want to do is go here to the drop down and duplicate to your draft so it's part of your Figma account. And then open down here. And then just rename it so that it doesn't have last F. You could just put your last name, first initial. You can put your initials, whatever you want on there, but take away the copy thing. And then I'll hit enter, and now it's in my drafts. And I could always go back to files if I need to. But what I want to point out here, and I'm going to zoom in and look at these kind of one at a time. We have a couple different combinations here. Now, these are meant to be type-only logos. And they're not meant to be good, they're meant to be corrected. And they're also meant to go over some of the combinations that you will and will not use. Now, the first one here, we have Vasco and Vasco, which is crimson text, a nice kind of old style serif font. And then we have Volkhorn, which is a little more of a transitional serif font, but we don't ever want to mix serif fonts together, particularly ones that are this similar. It's like dating your cousin. You don't want to do that. I would use that example, but they're just too similar. So we want to make nice high contrast between them. Usually different type styles, but also sometimes different styles within a family. So in this case, we don't have to necessarily find something completely different. We may want to use something within the typeface family itself. For example, I like crimson text. Now this is Volkhorn. Now we could make this one Volkhorn and then kind of adjust their size because we have problems with contrast here. This is too small, this is too big. They're kind of both even in terms of their overall color is probably about the same. By color, I mean their boldness, their lightness, they're about the same. So let's go with crimson text. We're going to keep this crimson text and we'll make this crimson text. Now, we could go down here to the drop down and look for crimson text, or we can go here, click on this one, and go over here and go over to the Figma icon and go to Edit, and they have something called Copy Properties. And I'm going to copy properties. And then I'm going to click on Attorneys at Law, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Edit, Paste Properties. And now this is crimson text. And what am I going to do with crimson text? Well, I might take this one, the one on the top. It's 36 pixels right now. I may take the one on the bottom. It's also 36, and maybe I'll make that 24 and see how that looks. And that looks a little bit better. Maybe I'll go down to the 3 dots and do something like small caps. Now, small caps are not available. So let's get small caps for now, although sometimes that's a nice look for attorneys. You could do it yourself, but we'll leave it out right now. Let's try italic. How does that look together? Nicer combination. We now have Vasco and Vasco standing out. We now have this receding a little bit. We could make this a little bit bigger. This is 24. We could maybe double click on here and maybe make it 26. And that's not bad. That's a better combination. We're using the same typeface family. We're using different styles. Can we put this in bold? Sure. Let's try it in semi-bold first. Does that look a little bit better? Yeah, it looks a little better. Now we have some contrast. Now we have bold and we have a lighter italic. Do we want to try it even more bold? That's not bad. Let's separate them just a little bit. We don't want them too crowded. We want a nice kind of distance here, and center is fairly conservative, and that looks okay. We'll look at the tracking here, the letter spacing. Do we want to spread it out slightly? We might a little bit. It's a little tight in places. We might take a 3-4%, something like that, just slightly. Now we only want to do that. We don't want to use that a lot. In some cases, we are going to spread things out to look different, but in this case, just to lighten it up, because some of those letters are touching. So That's not too bad. Let's zoom out a little bit. That's not bad. Improvement on what it was. Let's move down to this one, Smith and Stewart. We have Smith and Stewart. Let's see what we have here. We have Libre Franklin, which is a sans serif font, and we have Roboto, which is a sans serif font. And we have kind of a messed up contrast going on because this is lighter than that, and this is kind of wider than that, and they don't really have a nice kind of contrast between them. So what could we do here? Well, let's try the same thing. This is Libre Franklin, and let's see, they have a light version. We don't want a light version. Maybe we want a bold version of it. Let's go with bold. Smith and Stewart, Public Accountants. And let's go down here and let's make that Libre Franklin. And we can go down here and just look for it. And we could go in the list and just go Libre. And there's a lot of Libres. There's Libre Franklin. And we don't want that really bold. We might even want to go something light. They have a nice light version of that. Look how nice that looks. That's a nice combination. Now, you could put this in a serif font, or you could even go smaller with this. Let's go a little bit smaller. Something like that is a nice contrasty look. You can certainly take this and put it in a serif font. We were just using Crimson Text. Let's try Crimson Pro. And it's bold. Let's go a little bit bigger. Now we're contrasting two different typefaces. Now we have a serif and a sans serif, which works. Now keep in mind that sans serif fonts will even look bigger even though they're smaller because they have larger X heights. And that makes them appear a little bit bigger. So sometimes we need to go a little bit smaller. Let's try 18. Well, it's going down to 16 next. Let's try 18. And let's see how that looks. And that's not bad. So now we have a nice bold serif font and we have a nice light sans serif font. So we got rid of the Roboto one, but we kept the Libre Franklin down here in the light because it's a nice accent font and we have a nice business-like bold serif font here. Now we did the same thing there. So any reason why? Well, attorneys, public accountants, very conservative kind of businesses. So we're using serif fonts, very conservative here. Now down here we have forklift service. Now this is not really a typeface that you would think of for a forklift service. This one would, but not necessarily this one. This looks like it could be like on a magazine cover. This is a very modern serif typeface with very fine lines in it. So we might want to use this one. This is Roboto Slab Extra Bold. Let's put this in that. Now let's try to do that. Edit, copy, properties, and then go here and we'll paste it. Paste properties. And now Mitchell and Son is in the extra bold. Do they have anything bolder? They have black. Let's get that nice and big. And we could even go here to our scale tool, make that nice and big. And what can you do with forklift service? Can you keep in caps? Sure. Do you want to keep it bold? Maybe not, because that's bold. And we might want to go a little lighter here. Now I'm not seeing typeface properties here because I'm still on the scale tool. So let me go on to the move tool, and instead of extra bold, let's see if we could go down to regular. Let's see what that looks like. Let's even go a little bit lighter. Let's go to light. And now it's a little hard to read because they're kind of jumbled together a little bit. Let's maybe spread it out. We're going to go down here and just kind of go next to it and just kind of spread that out a little bit. And maybe even spread it the same length. Now we could put a line in between it. There's lots of different things we could do here. Now this is one look that you can do. You could certainly put this in a sans serif typeface because the slab serif is it's a little more on the decorative side, and you might want to use something plain to accent. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to hold Option, and you can use Alt. Just going to copy this and just try something else. Actually, we just used Libre Franklin there. Let's see what that would look like. And well, actually, let's see if Roboto, there's a regular Roboto. That's not the slab, regular Roboto. And let's see if they do have a light. And that's not a bad looking font. We can spread that out even more. And you're going to say, why spread that out like that? Well, then we can go smaller. I'll go here to my scale tool and go a little bit smaller. And sometimes you can kind of do a look like that. I'll go a little bit smaller here. And you can grab it from the corner too. So I'll grab it from the corner. That way you could kind of scale it to the edge. And that's not a bad look either. Now, is that too light? You have to think about it. If you're going to go at small sizes, is that too light? Forklift service? Possibly. Let's go back onto the move tool and let's try the next one up. Let's just try regular. That looks a little bit better from far away. And that's not bad. I think I like that one better than the forklift service. Will both work? Yes. Does this one work better? Yeah, probably, because I think it looks better at small sizes. It's cleaner than this is at a small size. So I just want to point this out, that even though this works, we have a bold version of the Roboto slab and a light version of the Roboto slab. This one, the sans serif, the plain one seems to work nicely. So I'm going to delete this actually. And that doesn't look bad. It looks like a logo. That's all we're trying to do here, is clean these up and make them look like logos a little bit. And get nice tight combinations going on, and we're trying to get contrast. Here we have a bold serif font, we have a light sans serif. Here we have a bold slab serif font and a light sans serif, and we've kind of spread it out to make it even lighter, and we also put it in all caps to give kind of like an alignment on the top and bottom. We don't have all that up and down stuff going on. It makes almost like an underline, and we put it the same width on either side so that it makes like a nice little box. So those are the kind of things we'll be working with when we design with type a little bit and we find combinations. There's another one here, Sly Fox. Let's try a nice script font for that, for a brewing company, instead of just a basic serif font up there. I know one called Lobster. There's a couple different Lobster ones. Here's Lobster, Lobster 1.3, Lobster 2. There's Lobster. That's not bad. Has a nice readable look. And I'll make it bigger like that, so I'll make Sly Fox bigger. Now, what could we do with this? Does Brewing Company work with it? That's not bad. I'll go here to the Move tool so we see it. Roboto Condensed, that's not bad. Do they have a light version of it? They do. That doesn't look bad. Now, the problem we have with moving these together is that we have that descender of the Y sometimes, and you have to kind of work around it. I mean, sometimes we even go in here and put spaces and do stuff like that and find a way to get it in there. Sometimes we'll put things over here. Let me take this back and move this back. I'm on that one. I'll get in here, move that back, put a space in here. Sometimes you'll kind of make a dynamic kind of look so that it kind of goes from top to bottom, left to right. Something like this. Let me scale it down. You could do something like that. Now, is that too small? I don't know. You gotta be careful with using it real fine, real light at small sizes. So sometimes you might say, well, let's not do the real light one if we're going to go that small with it. It's Roboto Condensed Light. Let's just go with regular. And sometimes that'll have a better look. And I'll go here and even scale it down more. And we can even try different versions of Lobster. There's 1.3. And here's Lobster 2. I don't like that at all. I think I like the first Lobster the best. I think that's okay. And we create a little nook here, and we can go a little bit smaller on this. Now, we can't squash things unless we turn them into outlines, and I don't want to do that right now. But that's not a bad look for it. If we went a little bit smaller here, let's just make it 20. It's at 23, and maybe a little bit bigger. So now it fits in that nook there. So again, what we have is we have Lobster and kind of a script font, more on the decorative side. And then down here, and if you ever have issues, it's kind of hard to grab one, you could always go here and just lock Sly Fox and then grab Brewing Company temporarily over here. I know it's sometimes hard to grab them when they overlap, but what we have here is Roboto Condensed, and it's regular. Why didn't we go light? Because it's getting really small, and we don't want to have it really light and really small because it'll start to break up at small sizes. Again, Mitchell & Son, we have Roboto Slab Black, nice, thick, heavy, bold. And then for an accent, we have Forklift Service in Roboto Regular. Why didn't we go lighter? Same reason as this one. We're going small. We don't want it too small. We don't want it too light. We don't want it too thin. We don't want to go too thin like that at small sizes. So regular works out nice. We still have very nice contrast. This is all caps. It's spread out so it looks lighter, even lighter. That's why we do this. We spread this out so it looks lighted. When you squint your eyes, it has a nice light look to it. And it also spreads out and is the same width as this text. Down here, we didn't do that. We could have. We could spread that out, but it has a nice kind of little bit of an upside down trapezoid kind of thing. You could add lines and different things, but just like this one, we have a nice serif font and we have a nice light. Here we use Libre Franklin light. We have really nice contrast between them. This stands out, that recedes. We always want logos with just type that something stands out, something recedes. The host and co-host. So you never want the co-host to be getting all the attention. So this should get the attention. This one should complement that one. Same thing here. Attorneys at law should complement the main line. Vasco and Vasco is the main name. Attorneys at law is the descriptor accenting it that is complementing it. So that's the way we want to look at this stuff, complementing it. And that's why we want to find contrast. We want to find styles that don't compete with each other. These are not competing. That one is not competing with that. That one is complementing that using the italic. This is complementing that. Brewing Company is complementing Sly Fox. Sly Fox is getting all the attention. Brewing Company is just a little descriptor underneath. So that's what we're doing here, and that's all we're practicing here. So if you get the opportunity to kind of just work on this a little bit, we're going to do ones where you're going to kind of do your own. And you could try different things. You could certainly do that. But in the beginning here, I'm just trying to show you some examples of combinations, just basic type-only logos that have nice combinations. And some of the things we want to avoid are using fonts from the same category. Here we have different categories. We have a serif and we have a sans serif. Here we have a slab serif and a sans serif. Here we have a script and a sans serif. So the sans serifs are always nice to be descriptors to something a little more decorative. Now I'm saying decorative, it's not from that category, but the script font is being used in a decorative way, I guess is what I'm saying there. So when you're done with this, all you have to do, share it, copy the link, go back to coursework, click on the assignment itself, and go in here, add comment, insert a link, paste it, make sure you choose new window, makes life easier for me, and then hit save, and hit save again. That's all you have to do for that. So that's kind of follow along with me a little bit and kind of see these combinations here, and we're going to be doing more of that throughout the semester, designing with that a little bit, so you start to see these font pairs. I know you read something about font pairs, and now we're just trying to just put that into motion a little bit. And coming up next is going to be another little pairing activity.